Robert was the typical guy in his mid-teens. He had a couple of nice friends and loved playing soccer on the weekends. One day, Robert's parents gave him a smartphone as a gift for his good grades. The first thing he did was create an Instagram account and followed every boy and girl he knew from school. Robert liked to message with them and send funny memes around. Eventually, one of Robert's friends shared with him lots of profiles of Instagram models. Robert was absolutely in love by what he was seeing on the screen. He immediately developed the habit of seeking new Instagram models every single day. Eventually, this seeking habit he developed triggered Robert into seeking naked women on the internet. It was no surprise that he ended up finding pornography. Even though it was fun at the beginning, as time went by, the negative effects began to show up. First, he noticed that he got excessively anxious around the girls at school. Second, he felt bad about himself because he knew there was something wrong with his porn habit. A couple of months later, Robert became extremely sad and unmotivated. It comes to no surprise that he tried to escape these feelings by engaging in more unhealthy behaviors. He started playing lots of video games and eating lots of junk food to feel better about himself. Unfortunately, this led him to fail most of his classes and being discarded from the school's soccer team, which left him devastated. To crown it all the girls from school found him unattractive because he was fat and out of shape. As the years went by, he entered college. Eventually, when he was 22, he got his first girlfriend. One night, things started to get naughty and he was about to sleep with a girl for the first time. Unfortunately, everything ended in a catastrophic way. Due to his massive porn consumption, Robert couldn't get it up because he had trained himself to get aroused with a screen, not with a real woman. Ultimately, his girlfriend dumped him because she didn't want to have a sexless relationship. This left Robert completely shattered. The pain was so intense that he decided to change his life. He couldn't continue living this way. My advice to you is to stop consuming so much useless junk. You don't want to be a digitally rewired kid who is 25 years old, or even worse, 30 years old. Your conditions in your life are a direct reflection of what you consume, whether it's books, podcasts, courses, or porn, video games, and useless Netflix shows. Prioritize consuming valuable content. By the way, make sure to check out this video in which I share why men are weaker than ever. I'll leave the link in the description. Back to our story. Robert's self-improvement journey began with the classic join a gym and get fit strategy. One day, Robert met a guy at the gym who was 5 years older than him. His name was James. James was a successful engineer with his own company. He also had a beautiful girlfriend, good friends, and had his own place to live. James had his life together. James was interested in Robert because he was once in Robert's shoes and he thought that he could help him sort his life out. That's why James invited Robert to have lunch. During the meal, James asked Robert about his life, and right then and there he became aware of how dysfunctional Robert's life was. Luckily for Robert, James told him to pay really close attention because he was going to share some very important lessons that, if he applied them, would totally transform his life. So, James articulated the following words. See, Robert, your time is your most valuable asset. You will never get more of it. That's why you must be very selective with it and use it properly. In addition, your 20s are a very crucial time in your life. First, you are full of energy because you are young. Second, you have no commitments and you are full of potential. That's why you must pick a path for your life and invest your time and energy in following it. Robert, you don't want to be 30 years old and realize that you wasted your last 10 years pursuing meaningless pleasures. Because if that happens, your 30th birthday will be one of the saddest days of your life. Robert took note of everything James told him. James also told Robert that they were going to have lunch a couple of more times and that he was going to give him one task that he was expected to do over the following week. The first task was to describe in detail how he wanted his life to be 5 years down the road. The second task was to reverse engineer the skills and knowledge Robert would have to develop to make his 5-year plan come to life. This task was crucial according to James. He knew that the more one learns, the luckier one gets. In essence, James was teaching Robert that learning is something that's non-negotiable in life. The third task was to research the concept of a growth mindset and focus on developing it. By the way, if you're interested in improving your mindset so it works for you and not against you, make sure to grab my free affirmations for self-development with the link in the description below this video. The fourth task was to take vulnerable action. James taught Robert that vulnerability is the key to living a good life. In short, vulnerability is being honest with what you want and then going after it. Vulnerability is when you like a girl and you go and talk to her and ask for her number. Vulnerability is when you want to change jobs and you do it. Vulnerability is when you don't like how someone talks to you and you immediately stand up for yourself. These 4 lessons made Robert feel empowered to take control of his life because he knew exactly what to do. First, he decided to be honest with himself and let that honesty be reflected in his actions by being vulnerable. One of the things Robert was most afraid of was talking to women. Fortunately, now he knew that if he was honest with his intentions, the results didn't matter that much. That's why he decided to talk to every girl he liked and ask for her number. Even though he was rejected a lot of times, he also got over his anxiety and met a couple of great women. But most importantly, he felt good about himself because he was being honest with his intentions, desires, and actions. One of the things that helped him see rejection as irrelevant was the fact that he had worked on developing a growth mindset. Robert knew that rejection was only temporary feedback about his current skills. He knew that if he improved his looks, his social status, and his flirting, meeting a great woman would be just a matter of time and repetition. Another thing that Robert applied immediately was picking a path for his life. Once he had mapped his future, he noticed that he stopped worrying about most of the things he used to get anxious about. Before, Robert used to get anxious about not being invited to parties where lots of alcohol was consumed. But now that he has his ideal future mapped out, he doesn't care about parties because that's not the type of life he wants. He's focused on aligning his current experiences with his ideal future. As the years went by, Robert made a total transformation. He went from being a 22-year-old porn addict to having his life together, and most importantly, to having a direction for it. If you want to get your life together as fast as you can, I highly suggest you guys to check out this video I did. It's one of my favorite videos and I promise you will love it. If this video provided you with value, please leave a good thumbs up and comment below to support the channel. I hope this video was helpful. So I will talk to you soon.